In the heart of Agbako village, nestled between lush forests and a winding river, lived Bola, a girl of striking beauty. Her long, raven black hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall, and her eyes sparkled like the stars in the midnight sky. Bola's beauty was known far and wide, and many a young man dreamed of winning her heart. But behind her enchanting exterior lay a dark and sorrowful secret. Since childhood, Bola had been plagued by a malevolent spirit from the depths of the river, a wicked water spirit that brought calamity upon any man who dared to come close to her. It all began on the day she turned 12. Bola had gone to the river to fetch water, as she did every morning. On that fateful day, she had lingered by the water's edge, entranced by the shimmering surface. Suddenly, a cold hand grasped her ankle and pulled her into the depths. Bola's mother, who had been washing clothes nearby, heard her daughter's screams and rushed to the river, only to find her lying unconscious on the bank. She carried Bola home, and when the girl finally awoke, her eyes held a strange, haunting light. From that day forward, misfortune followed Bola like a shadow. The first to fall victim to the curse was Ade, a young farmer who had courted Bola since they were children. Shortly after declaring his love for her, he was struck by a mysterious illness that left him bedridden. The village healer could find no cure, and Ade succumbed to his ailment within a month. As Bola grew older, her beauty blossomed, and so did the curse's malevolence. Suitors from neighboring villages would come to Agbako, drawn by tales of her enchanting beauty, but all met with dire fates. Some fell gravely ill, others had accidents, and a few even disappeared without a trace. Whispers spread through the village, branding Bola as the harbinger of doom. Mothers warned their sons to stay away from her, and fathers shook their heads in sorrow. Despite the isolation and the fear that surrounded her, Bola remained kind and gentle. She longed for companionship, for the simple joys of friendship and love, but the wicked spirit within her kept everyone at bay. Years passed, and Bola became a solitary figure, a beautiful but tragic legend in Agbako. One evening, after yet another suitor had met a tragic end, Bola sat by her window, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Why must I suffer so?" she whispered to the night. "What have I done to deserve this curse?" Her grandmother, Mama Eo, entered the room and wrapped her arms around Bola. "Child, we must seek help beyond this village," she said. "There is a church in the city of Lagos, known for its miracles and powerful prayers. We must go there and seek deliverance." Desperation fueled Bola's decision, and the very next morning, they set off for Lagos. The journey was long and arduous, but hope carried them through each step. Upon reaching the bustling city, they found the church, a grand structure that seemed to touch the heavens. Its doors were always open, welcoming the lost and the broken. Bola and Mama Eo entered the church during a prayer service. The air was thick with the scent of incense, and the sound of hymns filled the sanctuary. They approached the altar, where a tall, stern-faced pastor was leading the congregation. His eyes, however, softened when he saw Bola. "Child, what troubles you?" he asked gently. Through her tears, Bola recounted her tale, from the day the river spirit took hold of her to the years of suffering and loss. The pastor listened intently, his face growing more serious with each word. "This is no ordinary affliction," he said finally. "You are possessed by a water spirit, a malevolent force that must be cast out. But fear not, for the power of God is greater than any spirit. We shall pray for your deliverance." The pastor gathered the congregation, and they began to pray with fervor and intensity. Bola knelt at the altar, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. The prayers grew louder, the air around her seemed to vibrate, and suddenly, she felt a searing pain in her chest. The spirit within her fought back with all its might. Bola writhed and screamed, her body convulsing as the wicked force resisted the holy power. The pastor's voice rose above the clamor, commanding the spirit to leave. "In the name of Jesus, I command you to depart from this child of God." With one final, agonized cry, the spirit was expelled. Bola collapsed, exhausted but free. The congregation rejoiced, praising God for the miracle they had witnessed. Bola stayed in Lagos for a few weeks, regaining her strength and learning to live without the shadow of the curse. The pastor and his wife cared for her, offering guidance and support. They taught her about the power of faith and the importance of forgiveness. When Bola returned to Agbako, she was greeted with awe and curiosity. The villagers had heard of her journey and the miracle that had taken place. Slowly, the fear that had once surrounded her turned to admiration. A few months later, a new suitor came to Agbako. His name was Duro, a kind-hearted and hard-working young man. He had heard Bola's story and was deeply moved by her strength and resilience. Unlike the others, he did not approach her with fear but with genuine respect and affection. Bola, now free from the curse, found herself drawn to Duro. They spent time together, getting to know each other, and for the first time in her life, Bola felt the warmth of companionship without the looming threat of tragedy. Duro's proposal came on a serene evening by the river, the very place where Bola's ordeal had begun. "Bola," he said, taking her hands in his, "I know your past has been filled with pain, but I see a future with you that is bright and full of love. Will you be my wife?" Tears of joy filled Bola's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Duro, I will." Their wedding was a grand celebration, attended by the entire village. The same river that had once been the source of Bola's suffering now bore witness to her happiness. The villagers cheered, and Mama Ayo, her face beaming with pride, thanked God for the miracle that had transformed her granddaughter's life. Years passed, and Bola and Duro built a life filled with love and joy. They had children who inherited Bola's sparkling eyes and Duro's kind heart. The tale of Bola's deliverance became a story of hope and redemption, told to generations in Agbako. Bola never forgot the dark days of her youth, but she learned to embrace them as part of her journey. She often returned to the church in Lagos, giving thanks and sharing her testimony with others who needed hope. In the end, Bola's story was not just about beauty or tragedy but about the triumph of faith and the enduring power of love.